Well, hello everybody and welcome back down into the dungeon. Something a little more garden related today, I think. A couple days ago, brother Trollforge tagged me in a video about 2018 garden improvements, and I gotta say, at first I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. I could go on for hours about improvements I want to make to my garden. And apparently my camera clip here is only good for about 20 minutes. So that doesn't really work. But at the same time, it's about the improvements I want to make in 2018 and or I think I'm unlikely to make in 2018. So really, that's probably not going to take a lot of time. But we'll see. I think one of the improvements I really am very much hoping to be able to get into this year is I want to get a rabbit, preferably even 2 rabbits, because A, their poop is quite useful for standard soil type gardening and would make a great amendment to any soil gardens that we want to build. And, well, breeding rabbits is a good source of meat, and while it's kind of frowned upon by a lot of people, meat is expensive. I have no intention of cutting meat out of my diet. I'm not yet in a position to go hunt for meat, and even if I was, I don't have a freezer to store most of what I would kill. So rabbits really seem like a good idea. Their turnover is pretty quick. They're not terribly expensive to purchase, maintain, or any of that stuff. And yes, it will be tricky culling the first few, what are they, litters, kits, whatever, the first few batches of baby bunnies, but I've heard it tastes really good, and that's probably going to be enough to make me do it. Something else I'd like to get done this year, obviously, is some sort of a greenhouse, even if it's just a lean-to against the long shed, so that I can get a bit of a jump next year on taking the pepper plants outside. Whether I get it started for spring of 2018 because something miraculously cool happens, or whether I get it done over the 2018 season and I've got it ready for spring of 2019. Either way, I really want to see that happen this year. Because of the greenhouse, there are trees that need to come down. That absolutely will be happening this year. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with them. Probably just stack them up and let them dry. They're not the best firewood, but they're not terrible firewood. So I might just end up with like a wall of wood from cutting all this stuff down. But in the summertime, the sun shines high enough that it goes over those trees and doesn't really affect my garden. However, in the spring and fall, those trees block almost all of the light that would shine onto my greenhouse. Since I'm far too cheap to pay for any sort of outside heat source, I kind of have to rely on passive solar heating to make my greenhouse work for me. So those trees gotta go. That's really all there is to it. I experimented in the past with using compost piles to heat my greenhouse, and that is definitely something that I'll be looking back into in the future now that I have some idea of like the minimum size requirements and what technically makes a proper compost and how to get the heat from it. And I actually learned a lot out of that little tote experiment all those years ago, and I've kind of just been sitting on that information waiting to be able to do something with it. Something else I'd really like to be able to do in the garden this year, and I don't know if it counts as an improvement or just a goal, but I'd like to be able to harvest 100 pounds of fruits and or vegetables from the garden, and I'm not counting apple trees, because the apple trees produce an awful lot of weight, and they're not all that good. I mean, the juice wasn't bad, and that one jelly I made with like the shredded apples, the crab apples and stuff, it was delicious. It worked out just like a marmalade. It was absolutely fabulous. I'm really hoping to be able to repeat that, but I'm not counting on it, you know? But I would like to be able to harvest over 100 pounds of fruits and vegetables from our yard. I mean, we are sitting on half an acre, so it's not an unreasonable goal, I don't think. But is it a garden improvement or is it a goal? So, gray area. Rather, a lot of my gardening happens down here in the dungeon, so I mean, there are a few things I'd like to improve here over the course of the summer to better prepare it for next winter, basically. I'd really like to maybe get some proper insulation in a few of the places, like here, I'll show you. Up top there, you know that, I don't know if that's a snake hole or a mouse hole, but either way, that's problematic to me. I can feel cold air coming in from every single one of those things. So while some previous owner or tenant did at least something to try and block it, it's not good enough. I really, really would like to put in spray foam insulation during 2018 so that when I'm getting started for the 2019 garden, it's just that little bit warmer down here. And believe you me, it gets mighty cold down in this basement in the wintertime. Like, okay, we had a spell where it dropped into the minus 35 kind of range in Canadian, so I have no idea what that works out to be in Fahrenheit, because once you get down past 0 Celsius, my quick calculation doesn't work. But when it gets that cold, we have the main house, which is the basement here is underneath the main house, and then we have a couple of additions. This pipe here that kind of randomly goes through the wall actually stops just before this addition, and it's like a heat vent going straight up there, right? I need to work on this too, but there's a wicked cold draft that comes in there because it's not insulated around the base of that addition, and I actually question whether or not there's an actual foundation under that. I'm hoping to get into that this year. That's a house improvement though, not a garden improvement. And here you can see where we've got the other addition, and you can also see the space heater here because these suckers froze solid on us last time it dropped to minus 35, and that sucked more than just a little bit. So we dropped 25 bucks on a little tiny space heater that actually fits in the paint bucket part here. But yeah, so I mean that technically falls under household improvements, but at the same time it's a garden improvement because the dungeon is my garden 8 months of the year. Probably even more than that when you get right down to it, because I do want to have a constant pepper garden growing in this basement. All year round I want to be able to come down here and pick peppers. I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think I'm there yet, but I don't think it's unreasonable. One of the garden improvements I'd really like to make this year is I want to work on building the quality of my soil. I mean, I need to build the quantity of it as well, especially if I'm going to be doing raised bed gardens, but it's all that same Manitoba mud that I pulled out of the bottom of so many of those planters, and it's hard for the roots to get in there, and the plants don't do as well as I feel maybe they could. So one of the biggest things I'd like to do this year is I would like to amend my soil so I don't have to put nutrients and stuff on there, and so my plants just have a better chance at life. See, and thinking of outdoor gardening, I won't have to listen to the furnace while I do that. But one thing I'd really like to get done as far as outdoor gardening is I'd like to plant at least 2 more fruit trees. That would be incredible. We got a cherry tree last year, and I finally did get it planted towards the end of the season. Hopefully it survived the winter. We'll find out in the spring when trees and stuff start to put on their new buds and show their new signs of growth. But I'd also like to maybe get a pear or a plum, or I don't even know if there's a cold hardy peach, but I would love to get a cold hardy peach. So that is definitely, I consider that a garden improvement, because permaculture is long-term gardening in my head, so that counts, right? Right? But I mean, really, when you get right down to it, there are so many things that I want to do to improve the quality of our land in general. And most of it really does fall into, is a gray area. Is it a home improvement? Is it yard improvement? Is it garden improvement? So yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. So thank you, Brother Troll. I appreciate anything that makes me stop and think for a minute. But without going into unrealistic sort of long-term options of what I'd like to do, you know, over the coming years, what am I going to do for 2018? Well, I'm going to garden. I'm going to do my best to improve everything I get my hands on, and yeah. So I don't know if this really falls under the spirit of what Brother Troll tagged me for, but it's the best I can do. So yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up. I guess this is video number 43. I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep track anymore, but it's kind of interesting to see the number climb, isn't it? So I don't know. I might. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I've got a bunch of stuff I need to get to, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you all for joining me yet again today, and for all of you who have signed up on the Patreon page, I really thank you very much. I appreciate your support so much, and it's just awesome to kind of feel that love. So yeah, I will be working on that still. I have some improvements to make, and I think I have figured out what seeds I'm going to order. So yeah, come the 1st of the month, I guess, I will start getting those? Well, I guess I should start getting them sooner. Maybe I can even have them in the... No, there's no way they'll be here by the 1st of the month. Anyway, as soon as I get them, I'll send them out. Yeah. Alright, cool. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. Have yourselves an absolutely fantastic day.